Hello, my lovely ghouls and ghoulies. It's your girl Shadow Wolf, and today, me and a couple of guests are going to be doing a review on Over the Garden Wall. Two of us have seen it once when it first released, and I want to say 2010. And one of us has only seen it recently, so, as it was decided by the lovely judges, I get to go first. So. Yay! I go, hey, no. So. Gosh, my time. I thought it was a good little watch. I can see where people are like, this is a yearly tradition of watching it around fall, Halloween time. There were moments where I oddly got Christmas music vibes, and I was like, why? But it was a good watch for a show about death. A little bit older one, but I don't have much to say. I am not good with reviews. I still don't know why I was chosen to go first. Alrighty. I'd recommend it. Maybe if it's your first time watching it, don't drink or smoke pot or anything stupid. This is an adult channel. So, all right, who wants to go next? Come on. Oh, Miss. Introduce yourself, madam.
I'm Miss Hart. I'm also reviewing the same show. I felt like it could be really easy on how people could get lost in it, especially in the first few episodes, but it really ties it all together at the end when you realize that they were just in a pond and probably had hypothermia and were in the hospital, dreaming it all. Which makes sense, and which makes sense as why at the last minute they realized that the shadow figure was lit by the light, which the shadow figure would have been the figure of death, which is why they kept trying to follow death until they blew out the thing that killed him and woke up.
Nice. I think part of the confusion with this lovely little TV show is it's only like maybe 10 minutes long per episode.
It's about 20 minutes. If it was 10, it would have been longer. Shorter.
I mean, valid.
Each episode represents a different phase, I think, of
transitioning from this life to the next one, you think?
No, because they did live at the end. Like, they did make it out alive. But I think it's the deeper they were going into their coma until they realized they were in their coma and woke up.
Alrighty, so then it's Miss Alex's turn. Oh. Do you want me to be the camera person or Miss Hart?
It's fine. If you
Hello, feel free to introduce yourself.
Hello, I am Alex. So, I'm not gonna lie, I was confused until the last episode. And I think that your take is very interesting because that makes sense that they were like in a coma. That didn't click in my head until you just said it right now. So, the end part when the most interesting part was when this guy realized Wart realized that the light that the monster was trying to keep alive was for themselves, and I thought that was really interesting. So I was like, what? I would have never figured that.
I wonder if that's just an interesting take on selfishness too.
I don't think that's selfishness. I generally think that
because yes, it's death.
The creature was death, and then when he realized that the light was what's fueling the death of their coma, like they're dying in their coma, the light is what's keeping the death alive. Yeah. That's when he blew it out, and he woke up from his coma.
I feel like your perspective is really interesting because it makes the show make more sense to me. Because otherwise, I'd be more confused. But like seeing it in a state of like their children and they're in a coma and they're seeing things in a more wicked place, which is why things are so like creepy and disorientated, that would make more sense because it's through the imagination of these children.
Hi, Put.
Should explain this.
I'm like trying to get Elijah to be in the camera more. All right. Any final thoughts, feelings on it?
I also think that's why like later in the episodes they started getting a little bit creepier with like the aunt and the ghost. Right. and the roar into the coma they were getting was more creepier. And the butcher, even though he was being creepy about it, he was warning them. But he was just warning them about
I think you mean the woodcutter.
the woodcutter. Was warning them that, like, if they keep going in the forest, which is their coma, and they keep going more and more into the coma, that the dark creature or death is gonna capture them. Which it almost did at the end when it took
Greg.
And it was all wrapped around because Wart
You're a happy puppy. I'm listening, Haley.
because Wart decided he was just gonna give into the forest and kind of give into his coma and just die until he
Should I bring him up here and film his face?
no.
Elijah, do you have a review for Over the Garden Wall, mister? Come on, buddy. Do you have anything to say on Over the Garden Wall? He looks like what? Alright, sorry.
But when Wart gave into his thing and like the forest was taking him, it was like the coma was taking him and he just gave up the fight to go back and wake up. So that's why when Gregory went off and was getting the stuff for the
Are you coming up here, mister?
dark
As if you...
creature,
Oh.
that it was just things in their life that they remember, like little things like the sun going down, and maybe the cup, like represented like capturing the last of their light.
But wanted up here.
And so then you could see him like physically also enwrapped in the forest. So at some point near the end, both of them got really into a coma and just was giving up their fight until Wart realized that the light is what kills the spirit and not the spirit animals. Kills
Death. Because Death's soul was the light.
And blew out Death's light.
I honestly wonder, because Wart was very sleepy in one episode, and then Greg went to Death itself. I wonder if they hit their heads on rocks too, on the way down.
That would make sense, or maybe like they did hit their head because they were in the water, like they fell and tumbled, like they tumbled, so it's not a possibility that they like hit their head.
I know, the main reason I say that is because they were trying to get out of the way of a moving train.
Yeah.
I honestly am scared to know what town they live in with cops patrolling on Halloween.
I think it was kind of funny that he was joking with them, but he also, like, when he caught them at the end, he shouldn't have made that big announcement. And when he was talking to the kids, he should have been more specific.
I mean, yeah, scared the crap out of...
But it also makes me wonder, how long were they in that water before they found him and before Wart woke up and dragged Gregory out?
I would argue maybe a few hours, honestly.
And I wonder if when, in an earlier episode, when it was...
I mean, we haven't watched the original pilot. That would be Beatrice.
And like when Beatrice and the fish were fishing and they captured him, when he was hearing his name and like, wake up, Wart, wake up. If it wasn't actually Beatrice, but it was someone who was visiting him in the hospital.
Hey, Elijah. I wonder if that was like his mom, or Sarah, or both.
Maybe. Well, I feel like it would have been one or the other because it was one singular voice that was saying it when he first found him.
Not to talk from experience, but sometimes, especially if you're in a drowsy enough state, multiple people can be telling you to wake up and it just blurs into one.
No, because you would hear like the different tonalities and the tone voices.
Alright, again, I'm not.
So it would be like one voice with a different, like one prominent voice and then with a little undertone of someone else.
Yeah, alrighty then. Any other things? Do you think you'd watch this again next year or no?
Probably for the sake of like understanding it and actually like with that mindset of them being in a coma. Probably.
Okay. I think one day for Fun Day Friday, not anytime soon. Maybe because there's an online comic called Bad End Friends. Maybe go through that and analyze the episodes because there are moments where I'm like, I kind of agree with Wart.
You said something about Gravity Falls and this. Right?
Yeah,
Is
these.
it the one spirit tall guy from Gravity Falls becomes friends with Death in this one?
No, okay, so Bad End Friends is basically. Do you remember the episode when Dipper gets possessed by Bill because he made a deal?
Mm-hmm.
So it's Bipper, Beast, Wart, Thin Ice or something like that. And then there's a whole nother tier that's just Star versus the Forces of Evil, which I feel like that's too on the nose because a lot of those characters could very easily just end up Bad End Friends. But at least the first two would be interesting. I don't know about Frozen Ice King Finner, whatever that one's called. But I don't know, I just think it'd be fun to one day later down the line actually look more into that and where that would come from. Don't get me wrong, I can very easily see where that's coming from with Over the Garden Wall because Wirt was just trying to get his brother to safety, and Greg was just he's a kid, so he can't be. I want to say we shouldn't be too harsh on him, but I'd argue he's old enough to know better. Like don't do certain things,
Mm-hmm.
and he does those
I
things.
mean, he was saying like he's in high school, so he does know better.
Yeah, but
it kind of makes more sense if you think about it. Like in a coma, like in the first episode, there's a bunch of talking pumpkins, and I wonder if
I feel like that's a very much metaphor for death because all those pumpkin beings are skeletons
I don't think
dressed up
that's
as pumpkins.
I don't think that's like a death. I think that's their brain playing tricks on them, thinking it's like dead bodies in pumpkin things. Because it was around Halloween, like it was on Halloween when it happened, so pumpkins would be around. So it makes sense why in their head they were pumpkins, and then they were digging up people's bodies and and maybe it's not actually people's bodies, but it was
Like plastic
maybe-
skeletons.
yeah. That then like took the form of pumpkins.
I mean, maybe.
And that is like the first start of like realizing like, okay, their brain's already starting to get a little funky from their coma. And if I'm being honest,
Hypothermia too.
yeah. And I think they're in there for maybe more than a few hours. At least in there or in the hospital in their coma. Because it does take a long time for when you're, even if you're in hypothermia. Even if, let's say, they found them in like 30 minutes, they were still like in their coma.
Yeah, I know. Well, Greg recovered first, but yeah.
But still, which makes sense when Wart took, like, was being one with the nature and, like, actually, like, just falling into it, and he lost Gregory. That's because that's when Gregory woke up, and in his head he was imagining that happening to Greg. Be like, oh, I found a way out, and he, like, sold his soul, and that's why he was so lifeless in the last episode. It's because he already was awake from his coma at that time, so it was Wart's head thinking about Greg, while even though Greg was asleep. Which also begs to differ. If this is just Wart's coma dream, what is Gregory's coma dream?
Mm-hmm.
Was it the actual dream that we saw in the first little bit when he was like in heaven, quote unquote?
Yeah, that heaven was creepy AF, by the way.
That also told her how like, oh, Wart's gone, like he's already gone. Like, are those two different coma dreams? Because there's no way they could have been in one. They're two different heads. They're two different brains with two different personalities.
I was about to say what I've heard. I'm not saying this is gospel or anything, but it's something I've heard, and I'm pretty sure appears on the Wikipedia too. Apparently, what actually happened was he didn't sell his soul. He was trying to trade places. Greg was trying to trade places with Wart, which was his wish. When he very easily could have just wished for both of them to be saved. So again,
But even then, I guess his wish would have came true because he did end up getting taken. But I think that's when he was out. I think when Wart was getting into the nature, it was because he was actually dying and he was accepting his fate that he's dead. But Gregory, you could physically see the differences. He was paler, he had darker eyes, he didn't look the same. So he was already up, and it was Wart thinking in his head saying, like, oh, he's already taken his place so that you can be out, even though he was already out of the coma.
Yeah, that's true.
That's why Gregory had a different appearance when Death took him, quote unquote, was because Death didn't take him, he was already awake. And he had been awake for a little bit. That's why he also may have appeared different, because he was all in Wart's imagination.
Alright, yeah, that's valid. Alex, any other thoughts and opinions?
That is very good.
Alrighty. See you all in the next video, and have a lovely day. Night.
Night.
See ya.